get as much exposure as you can, as early as you can, and then lean into things that you like more.
Today, I'm speaking with Jamie Marshall, who is an accomplished IT professional and founder of the incredibly successful Everon.
The narrative when you're in the system is that it is like going to change your life. You need to hit X, Y, and Z, and you need to follow this path. I think in reality, doesn't define what you're going to do, how successful you're going to be, or what you're going to go on to do.
A company dedicated to delivering exceptional outcomes through the use of technology, developing tailored solutions that alleviate burdens and drive efficiency.
But I think the more you do, the easier and more natural it becomes. It's always interesting to speak to different people.
Jamie is a wonderful person, and I can't wait to chat with him on Time to Speak. Time to Speak is a space to pause, think, and talk about the power of voice and the art of human connection. Through open conversation with leaders and changemakers, we explore how voice, presence, and authentic connection shapes who we are, how we lead, and the impact we make in our work and lives. Welcome to Time to Speak. Hello, Jamie Marshall. Welcome to Time to Speak.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much. It's great to see you, and I can see you there in the Everon studio.
Yes, that's it, all branded up.
Yeah, that's where you do your podcasts.
Yes, the Tech Remedy podcast. This is the space we use for that. So we've got the nice branded wallpaper and some other bits in this room that you can't quite see.
Yeah, so the Tech Remedy's been going for about a year now, hasn't it?
Just over, actually. I think it's probably about 18 months. So we wrapped up season one, maybe a third of the way through last year, and we're just filming, or maybe while this goes out, season two might actually be underway and released.
Oh, fantastic. Are you still enjoying doing it?
Yeah, it's definitely different to my day job, but I think the more you do, the easier and more natural it becomes. But yeah, we've had some great kind of episodes and different topics, so it's always interesting to speak to different people.
Yeah, and I was a guest as well, so I'm returning the favour now and having you on mine. Yeah, so you've gone on quite a journey, really, haven't you, with your speaking and communication? And to think that you've gone from somebody who's quite reticent to speak or appear in public to someone who's got his own podcast. That's a lot of growth in a short space of time.
Yeah,
Um,
obviously it's been an evolution, I think, the last few years, hasn't it? And we've obviously worked together. You've helped me out along the way, so yeah,
yeah.
it's been good.
All the hard work is obviously done by you. So congratulations to you. You did it. So a lot of people won't know about you, and they won't know about Everon. And so shall we go back a little bit, and could we start with the young Jamie Marshall before Everon? So
Okay, yeah.
did you always want to work in tech?
Um, Probably. So, what a bit basically, when I was younger, I always had the vision of running my own company or doing my own thing. I don't necessarily say that tech was a path that I'd sort of dreamt of, but I understood that I was good at problem solving, or that was a natural skill set I had, and obviously then that led into IT and technology. Obviously, been big problem solving industries, and then obviously if you look at like the lifestyle that you'd want, and we'll probably jump into that a bit more later, but technology obviously doesn't have a low ceiling. So in terms of being able to afford me nice things in life, it was something I thought it could help and would be a good step. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. So when you were at school, how much tech was there? Was there quite a lot of, because when I was at school, we had literally 5 people sat around one massive PC.
Yeah.
I'm a lot older than you, but there was no mobile phone, there was no email, there was
Yeah.
literally nothing. So what was it like for you at school? What was your exposure to tech like while you were at school?
So primary school, I remember we had a Acorn computer. There was just one in the class. So there was obviously limited exposure there. But once I got to high school, the actual high school I went to had a city learning center in it, which had a whole IT department in. So I was probably quite fortunate that the school had a kind of relationship with that city learning center where they shared resource. So yeah, I think year nine, I was able to do IT as an actual GCSE or information technology. So obviously that was probably not as hands-on as I actually thought it would be, to be honest. But it was heavily involved computers. Everybody started a PC for the lessons and the programs and that sort of stuff. So yeah, and then grew into it from there, basically.
That's brilliant. It's a good opportunity for you to have had at school, isn't it? Did you enjoy school?
No, in short, I obviously I've kind of I understand a lot more about myself now and how I best learn and environments to be in. And looking back, probably school wasn't tailored to me and how I learn. I'm not someone that can really read a book and then memorize it or understand it and learn it without physically doing something. I learn through doing. So I think the school system isn't always set up to, I guess, accommodate or help in that way. So academically, I wasn't an A star student. I did do A levels and had a E and a D in business studies and IT. Yeah, obviously I'm running two tech businesses, so that's probably unusual or not a normal path. But yeah, the whole school system for me didn't kind of suit my way of learning, I don't think.
It's so interesting to hear that, Jamie. Like you say, you got that E&D in tech and business at A level, yet you're the one who's running the tech business successfully. And so it's really, I mean, if I was a young person listening to this right now, I'd be thinking, right, okay, if my GCSE results that I just got weren't great and I'm really disappointed, but I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep going because if I follow my passion and learn in the way that I know is good for me, I can still get there. So it's really good to hear it. And it's never a straight line, is it? So I think at school we're often taught work hard, get good grades, then do your A levels. Then if you want to be a professional, you need to get your degree or whatever. Thankfully, I think it's changing a little bit now, but we still have that mindset, don't we, around attainment and achieving those high grades. What would you say to a young person at the moment in this new landscape we're in?
I'd say obviously, firstly, yeah, I think the narrative when you're in the system is that it is like going to change your life. You need to hit X, Y, and Z, and you need to follow this path. I think in reality, doesn't define what you're going to do, how successful you're going to be, or what you're going to go on to do. There's things that are more important than a grade on a piece of paper. I think everybody leaves with, is it that red book, National Record of Achievement?
Yes.
I couldn't tell you where mine is. I've never asked to see anybody's that I've interviewed. So other than their CVs, it's never been a problem for any of the people we've interviewed. And I think, yeah, if you have maybe not hit the marks or the grades that you wanted or you thought you needed, it's not the end of the world. And
Mm.
the kind of grit and determination for me would be more important than what it said on a piece of paper.
So is that the case then when people are coming to you for interview, you're looking for that grit and determination, something in their personality which helps you to feel that they're going to be um, the right fit, conscientious and willing to get down and do the dirty bits to achieve results. Is that the sort of thing you're looking for?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think obviously the technology world moves so quickly anyway that what you learn today might not be relevant in a year or two's time. So I think you need the ability to learn all the time and you need the desire to keep learning and evolving. So that's a big one for us. And then personally, yeah, and it's aligned to I guess our values of how we want to treat clients, customers, and the people we work with, understanding and seeing the bigger picture and not necessarily just doing the bare minimum, but wanting to do more, wanting to do a great job, deliver a great outcome. Those things are more meaningful to me than, yeah, what it says on a sheet of paper, really.
Yeah. I mean, it's not surprising for me knowing you that those things are meaningful to you because obviously you're a service-based business, and I know that service is really important to you. Um, so I'm just going to flip back. So you leave school,
Yep.
and then what happens then? So to get to Everon, what happens in between? How did you get there?
Yeah, so I was always pretty confident I didn't want to go to university. So obviously I did my A levels in IT and business studies to help me, or what I perceived as a good step. And then at the same time, I ended up working part time for a IT company near my school, near my sixth form. Um, Once I'd finished my A levels, I ended up going full time there and kind of learning on the job, as it were. So I did continual learning. It wasn't university based. It was with a company called Cisco who make networking equipment. So it was relevant to what I was doing, but it was a lot more hands on. And then ultimately, myself and my business partner had a similar path. We sort of worked for that original IT company for probably getting on 10 years. And then we kind of had been growing throughout and realized there was maybe a different direction, or we wanted to lead a little bit more, and to probably cut out a lot of detail. Our original boss then had the idea of, instead of losing us potentially in the future, to create a new company, Everon, and to obviously allow us in at shareholder level. So we began that journey in 2008. We continued to grow, myself and my current business partner, Stuart, and we kind of were the leading voices in that business, and the direction of we were heading was all something we were kind of working towards. And our original boss started to take a little bit of a step back. He was at the other end of his working life, and ultimately in 2016 we went for a management buyout where we kind of reset almost. So a lot of the things we were doing prior to that MBO were kind of being a jack of all trades. So we had a little bit of direction, but we didn't really lean into any of them that well. So 2016, the MBO happened, and literally or virtually overnight, we went business to business only. We got an office in the city centre, so we were closer to the client base. We focus on regulated industries, so legal sector is a big vertical for us, but accountancy, insurance, private medical, those sort of things. And we made a conscious effort to not sell on fear or uncertainty, but to try and lead with education, and to try and be a voice that humanized IT and made kind of that unknown disappear for people. So people that are not technical, that might come and choose to work with us because they trust us, and they think we know what we're doing. So when it comes to delivering a technical solution, they don't need to know about the nuts and the bolts. They just have to have confidence that we can deliver that output and that solution to a business pain or a problem that they might have.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we've carried on that trajectory a little bit further with a second company, which then we're a Microsoft only house. So in the Microsoft world, there's a solution called Microsoft Dynamics. So they do like a sales CRM and database solution. They'll do like field service and resource management. There's a whole suite of modules that work in this solution. And ultimately, we created a second company about 18 months ago, 2 years ago, that delivers that solution and works hand in hand with Everon and its clients to, I guess, share the values and keep people moving in that direction of winning with technology, as I like to say sometimes.
Wow, that's one heck of a journey. So the buyout happened in 2016. So you've had everyone for 10 years now.
Yes, yeah, as we are now, version 2. Yes.
Version 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so how
Obviously,
old were you then when you took on Everon?
I would have been 28, maybe. I've given away my age now as well.
To me, that seems so young, 28 to have
Um,
tech
I
business.
mean, if anything, I think it should have happened quicker. If I was to look back at decisions I've made, I try not to necessarily have regrets or anything like that. But one thing, probably looking back, we could have done it earlier. We were comfortable in the environment we're at, and that original goal we'd set of progressing, I guess, got diluted the more comfortable we got. So we got there in the end, but I think we could have done it sooner.
Wow. So you've been in Everon, well, the second sort of phase of Everon, 10 years. It's going really well. You've actually got a second company, and everything's going swimmingly. And obviously, in that time, you've decided that communication is really important. So I think you'd already decided it, but we sort of crossed paths, didn't we? Sort of 3 or 4 years ago, which was actually at a networking event, and I was chairing a panel which you were on, which actually you were brilliant on that panel. Um, you might not have felt it at the time, but I remember you saying, I think I could do with some help because I want to speak more. Why did you want to speak more? Why did you want to have more of a public voice at that time?
Um, so I think we'd kind of reached a point where, because we were consciously not selling on fear and those sort of things, we needed a platform that would allow us to communicate some of our values and to build trust with prospects and potential
Mm,
clients ultimately. In our industry, if you knew everything we know about tech, you probably wouldn't work with us in the first place. So a lot of the people we work with or clients that would come to us either A, aren't interested in the tech or
mm,
they don't know where to start.
mm,
So when you see a website, in my view, and it's just tech after tech after tech, if you don't know what you're looking for, you don't know what good looks like, it's really hard to understand who's going to be good, who's going to work with you, and who you should avoid. So we kind of lent into this idea of having more of a brand that people could learn from. We could be open and educate, and the long term aim is we'd educate people enough, we'd build enough trust that eventually they would just say, "Look, we're aligned. Can you come and work with us?" And I don't think there's anyone internally ever on that was natural at that. Obviously, the majority of the team are from technical backgrounds, which probably means our soft skills maybe need more work than some industries, like creative industries. And yeah, just being one of the two, I guess, co-founders and leaders, we kind of decided it had to be one of us, and either I drew the short straw or my skill set was best suited to it, albeit it was a loosely aligned skill set. So yeah, we met when I'd sort of made a point of going out and throwing myself into things, and obviously you chaired that AI panel, I think it was. And I always knew that if I was going to do more, I'd want more help and training, and I'd need to learn more to get better.
mm.
And then we started working together, I think probably within 6 months, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, we did. And you've done a lot of speaking since then. Um,
Yeah, obviously, I think we worked together for my first sort of solo presentation, didn't we, initially? And
mm,
then I've done a few more since then.
mm. We looked at your values, didn't we?
Yes, as
And
part of that, yeah, we did a whole exercise around values.
yeah, and the reason why I do that is because I want people to speak in alignment with their own values, but especially when they're speaking for their own business, they've got to figure out how they are personally aligned with that business.
So we already had some values ever on. I think we maybe had 8, so it was quite a lot, and it was maybe a bit too complex. But the 4 or 5 we boiled it down to for me personally, sort of already aligned, albeit they were a bit more wordy in the Everon ones, but the two were aligned. So I think it was really interesting to see that my value or my and my business partner's values had already kind of applied to Everon, albeit not consciously. So that was really interesting. And the other thing for me, it highlighted or I guess doubled down on was the fact that I didn't want to be salesy and cheesy and clickbaity with the marketing and the messaging that I did. So it was a good exercise to prove I was authentic and yeah, make sure that those things came through in the way that I communicate.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I think sort of our language is so important, isn't it? And so what we say has to sort of fit with the language that we put on a website or that we put in the LinkedIn profile about ourselves or the verbiage that we use in marketing materials for our business. They all need to all fit together so that again, you can build that deep trust with your clients, which I think is why that exercise is so important. A lot of people sort of poo-poo values nowadays. Maybe they're a little bit bored of hearing it, but I think when you check in with them, or even just return back and have a good look and sort of see if things are still the way that they were, or have things moved, have they evolved, do we need to evolve our language? That's when you get that real, honest, authentic communication and connection with the people that you work with. It's so funny because last week I was in a workshop and we were talking about a political leader. So I critique, in my workshops, in my masterclasses, I critique political leaders on the way that they're speaking. And there was one particular speaker who was English, by the way, which is not surprising at all, whose voice was completely monotone. Like there was no shift in the sound of their voice. And that's a lot to do with the fact that they just weren't connected with the speech they were saying, which is not great. You should really know what you're saying and why you're saying it as a political leader. But on this occasion, this leader was just so monotone and boring. And everyone agreed it had no impact. In fact, they couldn't actually remember what he'd said.
Yeah.
So thinking about you and when you speak, if you're so aligned and connected with what you're saying, the message, your audience is really going to hear it, aren't they? And respond and react and have more questions, or be changed, or be moved to ask you a question, and come and meet you, or something like that. Have you found that you've got more connection with people now that you're going out to speak more?
I'd like to think so. I think it's a hard thing to probably quantify, but I would definitely think I am. I'd say the flip side of it as well is because I'm more aware when I listen to somebody else speak, I can see whether or not I'm connected to them, and I can see how passionate they are by how they speak now, because I look for the markers that I know I would try to measure myself on. So yeah, you can definitely see, I think, in other people, and I hope people can definitely see it in me when I speak with people and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that awareness that you're talking about, that's brilliant. I think awareness is like 90% of the winning formula when it comes to great speaking. It's what you see and hear around you and what you take from it and decide to use for yourself, which is really useful. I'm just taking a quick pause from this episode to tell you about a brand new free digital product I've launched just for you. I've put together a collection of some of the best speaking tips I've collated from decades as a speaker, trainer and coach. These tips are a fantastic place to start to improve your skills and transform your communication game. As I said, it's completely free. Click the first link in the description, pop in your email, and I'll send it over to you. I've also put the link to my newsletter in the description, so check that out too. Now, on with the episode. Actually, I'm just thinking, a while ago you went to speak in Berlin, didn't you? Is it Berlin you were speaking?
That would be over a year ago, but yeah, we've sort of industry events now. So in the IT world, some of the groups that we're part of, probably done a few now, and I've just agreed to do one at the Belfry as well in April time, I think. So yeah, I mean, again, they're hopefully markers of the fact that people are resonating and engaging with some of the content that I ever put out, written, or the stuff I'm doing, because yeah, I've probably done getting on for maybe 8 or 9 talks within my industry now. I actually not fear them, but they're the ones that I'm more nervous about, if anything.
Where's that?
Then I think because they're my peers, I think there's a little bit of they want value that I would want value from me talking. And I think it's a little bit of confidence, like imposter syndrome style, when I talk in front of them, that might pull me up on certain things. Whereas, and not that I do this, but whereas when I'm talking to a non-technical group of people, in theory, I could say something here or there that might not necessarily be true, and you wouldn't get found out. And I think it's that extra pressure that I have when I speak in front of other people in my industry.
Yeah. I mean, it's a testament to you. You must be doing well because people are asking you to speak, right? You're not now going out there and saying, "Oh, would I be able to speak at this event?" They're coming to you, which means people do regard what you have to say as really valuable anyway. And obviously, you've built up that trust where people are um, trusting you because they know that your actions do meet your words. Um, I think that imposter syndrome thing is interesting. A lot of people talk about it, and I try and sort of say, right, we're not allowed to use that phrase ever again. We're not allowed to use the term imposter syndrome, because once you start using it, then you start to feel it even more.
Yeah.
But it is there. It's a thing. Um, what methods do you use to overcome it? So just before you're about to step onto the stage and then you start to worry, what methods do you use?
So I know when we kind of worked together, there was a kind of a tactic where you take yourself away, you might shut yourself in the toilet or something like that, but you
Mm.
have 60 seconds and you just literally slow your kind of breathing down. You focus on the output and what you want to deliver. So that I would say traditionally before we we worked together, some of that sort of stuff, I would be a bit like, oh, it's a bit fluffy. It's kind of not for me. But those sort of things I definitely do more of now, and I'm more aware of. Um, I don't like I say it's still it doesn't bother me to the point where I don't do stuff, but it still bothers me more. So obviously I've not found a magic bullet for it. But for me, yeah, it's about the more I do it, the more natural it becomes. And then whenever I've done it, that rush that you get when you finish is always positive. I've never really been negative once I've finished. So I know that whatever I'm feeling beforehand will have gone by the time I've finished it. So yeah,
Yeah.
I guess those
Yeah.
sort of things help.
Yeah, that knowledge really helps. So there's a few things in there. Obviously, the breathing's so important. I think that's why I remembered Berlin, because I remember you saying to me that even whilst you were on stage, you had the awareness and you could hear yourself speeding up. So you
Yeah.
paused, took a breath, slowed yourself down, and slowed your pace down again, which
Yeah.
is fantastic, like 10 out of 10, because we can all get carried away and speak faster than we know we should. But if you've got that awareness whilst you're speaking, to stop and take a deep breath and slow down so the audience can catch up with you and be right with you on those words, that is incredible. The fact that you've mastered that already is fantastic. Another thing you said there about experience, yeah, you only learn to speak by speaking, right? Don't you? So the more you speak, the better you get. Of course you do. And then going through that experience of feeling very anxious to begin with, but knowing how you're going to feel at the end, that's so useful, because you can just think about the end and how good you're going to feel, and park that negative bit, hopefully, before you get on stage. Brilliant stuff there. Really fantastic stuff. So, so that's you speaking on stage, and obviously you are getting really good at it, but now you've got quite a big team. So what does communication look like now within your organization as that business grows and the team grows? I remember as well, when I came to see you to record the podcast at your place, that you had an apprentice there. So you're working with all different kinds of people of different levels and capabilities. So how's all that going for you internally?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely improving. I think I'm more aware of the power of my words now than I've ever been. So
Mm.
even though I'm not obviously reeling off speech after speech with the team here, I'm aware of the communication and the I guess the stuff I've learned recently or in the last few years is sometimes I might say something as a throwaway comment and it not really mean anything to me, but those words will land with certain people and they might stick and I might not necessarily have meant it at the time or it might be something we should focus on, but people will grab onto certain things. So I'm definitely more cautious with my words and when I say things and try to be more purposeful with things. Obviously, it's still a learning, and I think I'll forever be learning with it. And we've actually got a team in South Africa now as well. So that is obviously a different mechanism again, where try to get on Teams calls with people. So we do get some visual references rather than just being on the phone or sort of chat all the time. And we do work quite hard at that with the team overseas as well. But yeah, I feel like it's improving. I'm more aware of what I say and how it might be perceived,
Mm.
even if I don't mean it that way. So yeah, and confidence. Obviously the more you do these things, if you talk a stage in front of people, it builds confidence. So that then should echo out into every time I speak to people, not just on a stage, but even in client meetings. I think I'm more confident, I'm more natural, and
Yeah.
I can relate to people easier as well because I've got a bit more confidence.
Yeah, and you know what you know, don't you? Y- you're not the imposter. You actually do know what you're talking about, so you can have a lot more confidence, which is really good. It's interesting, isn't it? This thing of having a remote relationship with some of the people that you work with, because it's so important as a leader that you show up with the same energy on screen as you would if you were to meet that person across the table in the boardroom, um, and or in the office. And it's not easy to remember that. I think sometimes we can kind of show up a bit half-heartedly on screen, but when it comes to business and it comes to our teams and working relationships, or um, working relationships with clients, that online presence is so important. Um, have you noticed that when it's really good and when it's really bad? Have you come across?
um, I'd say that it's probably really hard because something can happen and you can be a bit frustrated or negative or have your energy zapped.
Mm,
And if you've got that call with someone, you might only speak to them for that half an hour window, 45-minute window. And in effect, they're going to judge your relationship, their energy, the authority and the alignment from that short window. So if you come off a call or you're a bit negative or like I say, a bit zapped of energy and you jump straight onto that call, I think it's really hard to sometimes build yourself back up again.
yeah,
And I am cautious that sometimes going back to being authentic, I feel sometimes a little bit like it's two-faced to be feeling a bit negative or a bit down and needing a reset, and then having to jump on a call and be like, "Oh, hi, yeah." But it's what people obviously need their side as well. If their interaction with you is constantly in that negative or that monotone or droned sort of short bursts, I think it's not healthy. So it's yeah, something that I think is super difficult, but I'm
yeah,
trying, and obviously we're all learning and trying to get better with
yeah.
that sort of stuff.
I mean, I think certainly in the interactions I've had with you, you always do show up with the best version of yourself, because I think that's what you're talking about there. You're not, when you say, "Oh, I have to go from being, oh crikey, this isn't such a good day and I'm not really feeling it," to, "Oh, hi, how you doing?" And you don't want to fake, but you actually need to do it. You're not talking about being inauthentic. You're talking about giving the best version of yourself to help that person have a good day, which I think is something a little bit different.
Yeah.
And you always seem to consciously do that for other people, which is lovely. Um, and it sort of leads me to go back to service, because we've talked about service a bit, but not really opened up that conversation. It seems to me like you are somebody, and again, you're representing a business which does it, who is in service of people, whether that's just making them feel valued in that moment, or whether it's helping them to understand that they're a really important client to you. So can you just tell me what service actually means to you? Like, what are the things that make up good service for you?
For us specifically, being heard is a big one. So if you imagine,
Mm.
um, obviously we work with clients on projects or to deliver outcomes, but throughout the day in the working day, you might have staff within that company might not have a printer work or they might ring up and they could be slightly frustrated. So I think just being heard and felt you've been understood is a big starting point for us to build relationship and empathy and that sort of stuff. And then secondly, we want to be people centric. We want to not just fix a problem from a technical standpoint, but we want to make sure that person feels like it's been fixed. We've resolved an issue for them. We've turned a negative into a positive. So yeah, that's where it comes back to the hiring and wanting somebody that isn't just ticking a box, but can see that bigger picture. They can do a little bit extra while they're there.
Yeah.
That whole value thing is what we built our business on. We're in effect a customer service business, but we just deal in technology. Um, and we're constantly trying to find new ways to enable the staff to like do more as well. So we late last year launched the chocolate button. So where a client might call in, we might resolve a problem, or we might not be able to resolve it, or we might have even caused something that's maybe not perfected the solution. We have a button that they can click internally, and it will send that person a bar of branded chocolate,
Yeah.
just as a way of kind of keep building rapport and enhancing the relationships and that sort of stuff. So yeah, we're really, I guess, on top of that sort of stuff, or we try to be.
Yeah, no, that's lovely. I think you've said to me before about what you're seeking to do is humanize tech.
Yep.
That really stuck with me because I don't get technology at all. Like, obviously, I'm using quite a bit of it right now as we record this podcast, but I'm not naturally into tech. I have to force myself to be friends with technology, and I am the person who would ring up almost crying down the phone saying, I keep pressing this button and it's not working. But in the past, I've actually felt anxious and nervous about making the call because I feel stupid saying that. Do you know what I mean? So then the thing never gets fixed and it actually just gets worse and it turns into a horrible mess. And um, it would be the last job I would do. The last thing I would do would be to pick up the phone and get that fixed. So to hear you saying, yeah, customer service is the thing, we deal with people, and tech is the thing we use to help those people, then that's all great news for me. I'm sure a lot of people listening will feel the same way. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I think when you're not a technical person as well,
Mm.
sometimes you can't articulate the problems. So again, communication is key there, where we can understand the frustration, but we can relate it to a technical system problem, but then we can take it back as a solution in a non-technical way again. So yeah, it's exactly that. That's what we're aiming for.
Yeah. It's just come to me now, just talking to you. I'm thinking Jamie's all tech. And I've thought, is there anything else you wanted to be or do?
When I was younger,
Yeah.
um, I've been through the usual things that young boys want to do: footballers, race car drivers, that kind of stuff. Um, but no, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say tech was a first love when I was younger. But
Right.
again, it was one of those things I thought it could facilitate my lifestyle, and I would have a skill set that lent itself to it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
It's funny that you talk about facilitating a lifestyle. So maybe it's not about the tech, maybe it's about how what you do can help you live the life that you want. So it might not necessarily have been the career that you wanted, but the life that you wanted. So what does success look like to you?
So obviously now I've got a young family. I've got
Yeah.
a six, well, just about to be 6 month old. So obviously my life's totally changed in the last year. Right now it's about, I guess, having that balance and being able to spend time with him.
Mm.
Um, being present when I am spending time with him. So I'm not on my phone, or I'm not thinking about other things. Like when I'm there, I'm there. That will be a big thing that I'm working towards right now, and I'm definitely not perfect at it. There's still a long way to go,
Mm.
but that's the kind of aim and the direction that I'm working towards at the moment.
Yeah. So you're talking about time specifically, aren't you? The
Yes.
gift of time is, if you can create that, create a career and a life that's got time in it for you to focus on your family, then that is incredible. Um, that must have been quite a big, or it is actually, because it's a 6 month year old baby. That's not long at all. It's quite a big shift, isn't it? Going from somebody who spent a lot of years working so hard to build and grow a business to then say that business can't have all of my time now because some of it has to be for my wife and my son. How are you coping with that shift?
Is hard. So obviously I've been when I was young, I was super financial and materialistic with goals that I set. Obviously, as you grow and you get older, I think you wise up, or your internal growth, those things get diluted or you change slightly. But the actual my obviously baby boy, that's the bigger life kind of changing activity. In terms of how I'm handling it, probably not super well. We're obviously growing to do that. I'd say that the last few months probably have been more work intensive than I'd like them to be. But we're trying to work towards boundaries and having goals, or having responsibilities that align more with getting a bit more time back. But I don't know if it'll ever be something you would say will be complete. I think it will always be something I'll try to get better at. I don't know if there'll ever be a time where I'll kind of be happy with the split, if as it were.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's always evolving, it's always moving and changing. w- uh, just from my own perspective, I never thought that I would have a speaking and communications business. It actually came because I wanted a business which I could initially fit around my young children. And so that I would be able to choose when I went to work and when I worked. And it's it's great saying it, but it doesn't work like that, because when you do run your own business, you've got to put in the hours, you've got to work some long days, you've got to do things you said you were never going to do. And then there are times as well where you do get that time back and you can say, no, I've put the hours in, so I get to choose now to spend more time with my family. It's never perfect, but I guess as business owners, we do have more control in the long run, which is really great. Um, yeah, time is just so precious. It's actually why I created Time to Speak, so that there would be a little bit of time for conversation. You know, it's a big thing that comes up all of the time when I'm helping people to speak and communicate well. The lack of time is usually the biggest factor in failing to speak and communicate well. Um, so, Jamie Marshall, make sure you take loads of time to speak and communicate with that little one of yours. So you said you were quite materialistic. So what was the goal before the family?
So when I was super young, like at school, the line I always told my mum and dad was I would have a Ferrari by the time I was 30. Obviously that didn't happen. It's still something I'm working towards, but obviously it's not that important to me now. And I think
Yeah.
that's just where you start at as a sort of child, or when you're younger, you see these things and you think they're the markers of success. But
Mm,
as you get older and as you grow, you realize there's probably much more than those sort of things as a measure of
yeah.
success.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you
but
kind of,
that was the level that I'd set when I was younger.
yeah. Yeah. I guess over time as well, you kind of realize that people aren't necessarily looking at you if you're in that Ferrari. They might just have a quick look at the Ferrari, but then they've got no interest in you and your life and what you've achieved. It's just a thing. Um, but yes, what did your parents think when you said, right, by the time I'm 30, I'm going to have a Ferrari?
So I think they probably just dismissed it. And I think to a certain extent, as you would with most kids saying, I'm going to be a footballer or X, Y, and Z, I think you wouldn't dull it in someone, but I think you probably would be, yeah, okay, kind of thing. It's not going to happen. Um, but I also think that I am quite stubborn in some of the things I do, and probably,
Mm,
obviously, I haven't achieved it, but I think that mindset of not really caring that much, that no one believed me, kind of
yeah.
led me to do the things that I've done as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So not caring that much. I think it's not that you don't care. I think it's that you stick to your own path. So you're very
Yeah,
focused on
it
your
it wouldn't
path.
stop me doing it, probably is the better term. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Running your own race, which is always good. Yeah. Fantastic. So if you were to look back at that younger Jamie Marshall and he's saying, right, I'm going to have a Ferrari by the time I'm 30, um, but maybe not enjoying school at the same time. So like the GCSE results and the Ferrari at 30 kind of don't add up. and he's there and he's thinking, yeah, but I'm going to get it anyway. Looking back now, what would you say to that young Jamie?
I mean, I don't regret the things that I've done, so I guess I wouldn't necessarily tell him too much to change his path. And I think things like the time and the young family, I think until you experience it, it's hard to value it beforehand. So I don't know if there was much I could say to him that would say, well, don't go after that red Ferrari, but get a house, get a family, and I don't think he would have believed me. So probably not too much on that side of stuff. In terms of I guess like life lessons, I'd say that to go out and absorb as much as I can, to kind of experience and throw myself into more things earlier. Not necessarily academic things, but just various different things to get more exposure to stuff because you take a little bit from everything, and I think that helps you grow more rounded and helps you sort of overall in every aspect of your life.
So the school of life.
Yeah, Jamie's School of Life.
Jamie's school of life. So I was going to say, what advice would you give to your young son as he's approaching 15 or leaving school? But I'm guessing it would be that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, for him, I would say that he just needs to expose himself to as many things as he can, and then not worry about it too much. Like school results or picking something super early on. I think, again, I sound really old saying it, but if you're happy at doing something, doesn't matter what income you generate from it. As long as you're happy, then it's irrelevant. And I think just a lot of people go down a path and they don't actually know whether it makes them happy or not because they've only experienced one thing. Get as much exposure as you can as early as you can, and then lean into things that you like more. Yeah, if you're happy, then the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, the rest will unfold. So there's some brilliant lessons in here, Jamie. So time, happiness. I'm guessing we can just throw health in there as a given. So it's a very wholesome podcast today, Jamie. Okay, so what's next for you?
In general, like I said, I think we want to work, not just myself, but my business partner's got a young family as well. So we want to work to having a better work-life balance and being kind of more rounded. Professionally, obviously, the second company is 18 months old, getting on for 2 years. So that's kind of got a little bit of maturing to happen. And in terms of Everon, we're on the kind of hunt to acquire a company or two in the next few years. Now we've kind of got our mission and values kind of set, and we've got a bit of structure and maturity. We want to try and sort of speed up that growth cycle. So yeah, we want to keep helping people win from businesses. In short, helping demystify IT and humanize it. And I think the world of AI and sort of automation that is becoming more dominant is going to factor into that and align to what we're trying to do as well. So I think, yeah, the next few years will be really interesting.
Yeah, like you say, the sky's the limit with tech, isn't it? And there's so much to discover with AI now. And I know that you guys will be the ones to sort of dispel the fears and hold people's hands through the next few years. Jamie, it's been absolutely brilliant talking to you today. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me on.
So that was Jamie Marshall. So helping me to feel a lot happier about tech, knowing that there are people like Jamie there to help people like me who I absolutely feel like a dinosaur when it comes to technology. So thank God for people like Jamie who are human beings and striving to humanize, take the fear out of things, be trustworthy and honest, and yeah, help us all navigate this tech world we're in now. So I had a lovely time chatting with him. He's such a good guy, and I hope you enjoyed it too. And I will see you on the next episode of Time to Speak. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Time to Speak. If you'd like to listen to more, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and the podcast page on my website, audreywoodhouse.com. This podcast is brought to you by Audrie Woodhouse Honestly Speaking Limited, and it is an Actors Actuality production. See you soon.